Hi everyone! Today we're going to be looking at the DK1-TKL by GDK Labs, and I'm really excited to be sharing my thoughts about it, so let's get started. First, let's talk about the outer appearance. So it has a really smooth anodization finish and it feels really premium to the touch. And one of the standout features is this special PVD badge. It's incredibly three-dimensional, so let's take a closer look. So as you can see, there are a lot of lines on this. And this board has some really thin side bezels, which makes it look really sleek, and it's quite unique compared to some of the mass-produced boards. You can really see how they try to incorporate the element of lines and angles throughout the design. So if we look at the side profile like so you can see that there's a line here and as well on this side. And the bottom is also not completely flat. There are some angles to it. So I think this makes the whole board in general look really interesting, and it's not just flat, it has kind of a personality to it. And the craftsmanship is really well done, so I really appreciate how this bottom looks in general. It's really heavy, so it's kind of hard to turn it over right now, but here we go. Now let's move on to the actual board. So this board is quick release, but the latches are quite secure, so it wouldn't just fly off when you pick it up by the top frame. You do need to intentionally push down. So this is how you open it up. For this board there are two mounting options. Let me just pick up the PCB and show you how the mounting styles are like. You can choose between plate mounted gasket beans, or you can choose between gasket sleeves that go on the PCB. So the cool thing about this board is that you can actually customize your typing feel even more. So there are two types of stiffness for the PCB gasket and the sleeves. So they come in two different colors. So for example, this gray one is a bit softer and it's also a bit bouncier. And the black one is stiffer and it's harder. So these don't really change the sound, but they do change the hand feel. So the gray one would give you a bouncier feel, while the black would give you a more consistent and stiffer feel. So you can actually choose to use either just the PCB sleeve or just the gasket, or you can use both at the same time. So it's really fun to kind of experiment with these different feels and figure out which one you like best. Now let's take a look at the inside of the board. So the board has a slotted bottom case design. So this is a brass bottom. So these slots are really good because they actually minimize that cavity space, so it reduces that hollow sound and makes it sound even better even without case foam. It also has a magnetic connector, which makes assembly and disassembly super easy. So building this doesn't really take long. It actually comes together really quickly because of all of these things. And it sounds amazing foamless because of the special slotted design. And if we look at the height, it's actually not that tall, and it's actually not as slanted as some of the other boards that are available nowadays. So this means you can use this very comfortably without a wrist rest. A few things to note is that this board does come in a fixed 7U layout. So the only customizable option is the stepped or regular caps lock. It also does come with plate mount stabilizers, so it supports plate mounted stabilizers. But it also does support PCB mounted stabilizers if you're into that type of thing, but I personally prefer the plate mounted stabilizers because you can take them out really easily if you mess them up. But here's all there is for the board, and I'm gonna show you the sound test first, and then I'll share my thoughts with you. So why don't we get started with the sound test first? Let's go! So what do I think of the DK1-TKL? Well, I personally think that it's a fantastic board that manages to avoid that mass-produced look because of the PVD badge and the use of lines throughout the design. It weighs almost 3.3 kilos, which is quite heavy for a keyboard, but because of the lines and the thin bezels, it does look really sleek, and it looks really premium because of these design elements as well. And I do really admire how you can choose between a copper bottom or a brass bottom. So I think that having like a full metal bottom makes it look really elegant. And also that slotted design makes it so good for foamless. But it would also sound really nice if you're using it with foam. And let's also not forget how easy it is to assemble it because of the magnetic connector and the quick release. And I do also really appreciate how this board supports plate mounted stabilizers, because for a lot of more premium-esque boards, you usually wouldn't see them support plate mounted stabs. It would just be PCB mounted stabs. And the fact that they support this makes the build process just much more enjoyable. And I do love how you can actually play around with different mounting setups, whether you want a softer, bouncier feel or a stiffer feel. You can experiment with that and play around with that, and I just like it when boards do give you the option to explore. So this board honestly ticks all the boxes in my book, and I think it's a great board. So thanks for joining me today. So if you're considering a new board, you could definitely consider the DK1-TKL. And that's all I would like to say about this board. Thank you for watching my video. Until next time, bye bye.